Is Ferrari in a full-blown crisis? There is no doubt that the first encounter with Formula One hasn't been ideal in 2025. The performance of the SF25 has not met expectations in this start of the championship. We have all seen it with our own eyes, and the key figures from the Italian side have confirmed this in front of the microphones on more than one occasion. In theory, according to the technical director of the historic Italian team, the alleged correlation issues don't exist. Loic Serra has been very clear on this matter, even though, for the past 2 weeks, he has been locked away in the Maranello factory looking for solutions to unlock the performance of the 2025 Formula One car. In addition to the performance-related issues that are not improving, the team has not even been able to optimize the 2 race weekends. Unlike Red Bull, for example, which, although it does not seem to have a better car than Ferrari, also benefiting from Max Verstappen's talent, has managed to push the RB21 to the limit and achieve respectable results, at least with one driver. Ferrari, on the other hand, is struggling and also making basic mistakes. This is where the embarrassment came in at the end of the Chinese Grand Prix. While the Australian weekend was a true nightmare, where analyzing what happened revealed a lack of understanding of the car, along with various other issues, at the 5.451-kilometer Shanghai International Circuit. Against all expectations, even considering Lewis Hamilton's pole position and victory in the sprint race, the Maranello team managed to perform even worse. A double disqualification that went viral, humiliating the prancing horse. The technical maneuvers to get the SF25 on track failed miserably, starting from Saturday. The team has been unable to find the correct setup, despite tweaks that were actually needed. Now, a few days later, we can delve deeper. The goal is to understand the reasons behind certain behaviors of the Italian car, which, since the Bahrain pre-season testing session, has displayed handling tendencies that are far from easy to manage. Issues that have greatly limited the car's potential on track. The intention of this latest video about the Ferrari car is to bring clarity to certain interconnected points. The SF25 between the Australian and Chinese Grand Prix has shown a clear struggle with understeering. Through onboard footage, starting from the Scuderia track tests, many suggested that the red car suffered from excessive rotation, especially during exit phases. But this is not true at all. Let us explain further. At certain moments, the rear of the car tended to lighten too much. Okay, that can't be denied. However, when examining all the footage of the Italian car, on average, we observed a decidedly understeering behavior. Among other things, to confirm what we are saying, this situation was repeatedly reported by the drivers themselves. When observing the handling of the SF25 single-seater, it is noticeable that the Ferrari drivers reach the peak with a steering angle larger than necessary. Therefore, when they put their foot on the gas, the rear does not have enough grip to sustain either the lateral or longitudinal acceleration. The result? A destabilizing moment is triggered, but all, as mentioned, originates from the initial understeering, the real problem in the balance that both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc have suffered from and would like to resolve. But what are the causes of the lack of rotation? Having clarified this important aspect, we need to analyze the situation better to understand the triggering causes. Ferrari must certainly improve the rear end's performance, and there is no doubt about that. The goal is to optimize the aerodynamic interaction between the floor and the rear suspension, which at this moment is not working properly. Within the operating window, the floor reacts well and creates a lot of downforce. All true. Unfortunately, this range is quite limited. The aerodynamic map of the SF25 is not sufficiently large, as we have already said in recent days. The surplus of downforce shifts the balance towards the rear end and consequently causes the understeering behavior that we have almost always seen aboard the red car. Other top teams like McLaren and Red Bull try to limit the downforce peak in the floor area. This way, they achieve more stable downforce and, above all, a more consistent balance that contains the lack of rotation. With wing cars, all teams struggle with this tedious effect, which, for the reasons mentioned above, Ferrari still does not know how to manage. The updates expected will also help dampen this downforce peak, stabilize the car, and improve the balance. In the wake of Ferrari's challenging start to its 2025 Formula One season, Charles Leclerc has also addressed the Maranello team's concerns and pinpointed specific areas where the Italian side's SF25 needs improvement. Just 2 races into its campaign, Ferrari now finds itself languishing in 5th place in F1's Constructors' Championship, a staggering 61 points behind leader McLaren. This gap is attributed not only to operational missteps, such as the double disqualification in the Chinese Grand Prix, but also to a noticeable shortfall in the car's overall speed. Ferrari's contender has flickered with promise, as Lewis Hamilton demonstrated in last Saturday's sprint event in China, but failed to ignite consistently, leaving the Monegasque to confront the team's shortcomings head-on. While the team has made strides on several fronts, including high-speed corners, Charles Leclerc has singled out the SF25's performance in medium and low-speed corners as its current Achilles heel relative to McLaren. Charles Leclerc explained that, honestly, it was never really just one thing. He pointed out that in qualifying in Melbourne, their rivals were very, very strong compared to them in the last sector, which could have been more about tires than anything else. The dominance of the McLaren MCL39 cars in that phase exposed a gap Ferrari couldn't close. Yet the Grand Prix told a different story. Charles Leclerc admitted that in the race the situation was completely different, and it was a matter of overall performance where they were lacking speed, whether it was low or high speed or degradation. He explained that it was essentially a combination of all factors. The Ferrari man mentioned that in high speed they had made significant progress, but low and medium speed seemed to be the areas where more work was needed for the time being. The Monegasque added that he knew and believed the team knew where they needed to push in terms of performance for the car. Ferrari's opening two races have not been devoid of highlights. Charles Leclerc topped the timesheets in the second free practice session at the Albert Park circuit in Melbourne, while Lewis Hamilton clinched victory in the Shanghai sprint, proving the SF25's potential. Yet these moments have been fleeting. Poor execution like the double disqualification in China and inconsistent pace have overshadowed the car's capabilities. Charles Leclerc's own resilience shone through at the Shanghai circuit, where he battled to fifth place despite losing an end plate in a first-lap clash with his Maranello teammate, only to see the result erased by the stewards. Charles Leclerc assessed that they were generally quick, reflecting on the Shanghai weekend. He noted that they had seen it in the sprint with Lewis, particularly towards the end of the stint where he felt very strong. Overall, he believed they had a really good race car. The Monegasque mentioned that he made a step with the car, which he thought improved it significantly for the race. The 27-year-old driver felt there was a lot more potential, suggesting that untapped speed had been thwarted by circumstance. As Ferrari regroups and focuses on preparations for the Japanese Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc's diagnosis offers a roadmap. The Maranello team's engineers and technicians now face the crucial task of bolstering performance in low and medium speed corners without sacrificing their high-speed gains. For a team accustomed to the weight of history, the pressure is now immense on Vasseur and his technical team.